Welcome to Good Gut Live. This is a very exciting live. A lot of the times you're seeing just Dahlia and myself, but we are joined by a very special guest, Dr. Christian Gonzalez. He's a friend, he's an educator, he's a podcast host, he's a doctor, and I'll let him fill in the rest. But Christian, if you can introduce yourself to the audience, that would be great.
Thank you, James, man. We've known each other for so long, and your lovely wife and your daughter, who now I see in stories, and I can't believe every 2 months I see her pop up. It's crazy how kids grow up, man, because I remember when she was just a toddler, and now she's out here cooking in the kitchen. So I just want to say, man, it's like, what a beautiful gift for me to witness this on the outside. A really wonderful family who teaching their daughter the right way to eat, the right way to approach life, really.
Thanks, man.
I've been at this thing for quite a while. I'm a naturopathic doctor. There's been many iterations of the way I approach health and wellness, as you know, and I think that we're going to be talking about a lot of today is the nervous system and past traumas, but it's piqued my interest considering that the nervous system really touches every part of our body, from hormones to immune system to muscles to bones. Everything is innervated by the nervous system. So it stands to believe there's something to be said there and work with. And I love that you focus on the gut, because guess what? The gut has its own nervous system. What am I now? I'm a naturopathic doctor as much as I am a podcast host, as much as I am a somatic teacher. I like being a healer more than anything. So what that entails is listening to the body, moving with the body, allowing the body to show you what it needs versus like kind of trying to figure it out. So we try to figure it out so much. The body has a language to it. And I would love to unlock it for people so they can be by themselves and do their own work with their body as their teacher or their doctor.
I love that, man. And break that down, because I know a lot of people, this feels foreign. I think a lot of the times we're like, what do you mean somatic healing or even the nervous system? And what does even somatic mean? Like, what is that? I guess, what does that mean? And how does that begin, or how does one begin to understand that?
Your daughter is how old now?
10.
10. Oh my God.
Crazy.
That just blew my mind as a side note.
A decade ago, man, she was born. It's insane.
Okay. Well, remember 8 years ago where she was, right? So 8 years ago, she was 2 years old, going on 3. Maybe just envision her there. And you remember your daughter being able to express kind of like her needs. Even if it's emotional needs, your daughter was somatically connected. What that means is that she had very much so clear awareness of what she wanted to express. Your daughter at no point at that age was going, I wonder if I should really express this much emotion because mom and dad won't let me do that, or mom might get mad, or dad might get mad. Or no, there was raw, pure, unadulterated expression. She also knew when she had to poop. She wasn't constipated or holding anything in, right? Or I'm not saying she is now, but like kids in general, they're expressing not only just their physical selves, right? They have a pain, they cry, or they have a pain, they don't run on an ankle that's sprained. They're not pushing the way that we do because they're somatically connected. There's the portal between their the way they approach life in their mind and their whole nervous system is fully open. So it's sort of one full expression that is authentic. So somatics means the study of the body in relation to the nervous system, in relation to the way that we express. Soma is the body. So the body we sort of run away from. We've done it over the past 100, 200 years in medicine. And we started adding in this intellectual, philosophical, science, brainy approach to everything. And we've lost the art of medicine. The art of medicine is understanding that through somatics, the body speaks what it needs. That goes beyond everything that we see in a publicized study that's supposed to blanket everyone as one truth. Because in reality, your imprint is different than mine genetically, mine's is different than yours. And in that reality, the body will tell you what it needs. The body will tell you, James, you're good to eat broccoli. Christian, why do you keep eating broccoli? It's destroying your system. You just can't handle it. Maybe you can handle arugula better. Oh yeah, that's right. Why? But I thought I hated it. No. Somebody told you online that you shouldn't eat arugula, and you believe that. Or you saw a study that arugula is too bitter for people of Caribbean descent, and you believe that. But the truth is that your body is going to be in that truth. So this is the work of the somatics, is getting people back into what is their true needs, wants, and desires for their own highest level of health. And that's in relation to food, that's in relation to relationships, that's in relation to drinks, that's in relation to life as a whole. But it does start with the relationship to food.
Mm. Man, I mean, yeah, so much there. It parallels this macro and micro, right? Like I think,
Mhm.
and even I mean, at the macro, we can call it macro. Like my daughter, that example you gave is so powerful. Where yeah, as a kid, you cry and you express and you yell and you sing and you're not aware of quiet and you're just like I'm gonna speak and I'm gonna say this and to some effect, my 10-year-old daughter is still like that and but so that I guess could be a micro, and then a macro is this massive disconnect, right? As we get older and like, yeah, you're just disconnected from the soil, or you're
Mhm.
disconnected from nature, you're disconnected from so many of these natural things, even food, and we're seeing that into chronic disease, into so many layers of our society. So I guess then what how does one begin on that journey to it's would you say it's reconnecting on
Mhm.
these levels or like from micro to macro? Is that kind of the goal?
Yeah, the reconnection is a great word, right? Because
Mhm,
we are part of this whole biological system, right? And we've, for all intents and purposes, have divorced ourselves from it, from the way that we live,
mhm,
from the structure of society, from the foods that we eat. We've divorced ourselves from sort of those relational pieces. And we've divorced ourselves from our own internal interoceptive, meaning our connection to ourself. That how do we feel? How do we feel in this moment?
mhm,
Does this food really resonate with me? Does this person resonate with me? Because there is an intuitive interoceptive expression. That is how well you can decode the stimulus that is happening in the body talking to you.
mhm,
So interoception is I can feel my body. I can feel my body telling me, hey, you're sad right now.
mhm,
The worse the interoception or the weaker the muscle of interoception, it's not a muscle, it's just a whole nervous system connection. But we'll use muscle because we'll think about weights. The weaker, the more flimsy that interoceptive muscle is, the way more disconnected we are from our body. So
mhm,
these are the people who have no idea that they're bloated or inflamed. They have no idea that this food is causing them pain in their body because they're so disconnected. We
mhm,
don't fully disconnect, but they're so disconnected. And so it's a matter of reconnection, not only to our own interoception, but it's a matter of connection to our place in systems. How do we interact with our wife, with our children, with our husband, with our friends, with our communities, with our work, with nature? What is our relation in relation to that? And that's a big ask because you sort of have to have a sense of who you are. And that sense of who you are comes from feeling what is true for you. And to connect to that, to feel what is true for you, you got to have a relationship with your body because that's the first signal. You and I are spiritual guys. Like
mhm.
the source comes through you through that connection with self, right? And self starts with, okay, I have a body. I can actually feel my body. Oh, I authentically feel like I'm sad right now, and I'm not going to hold back self from expressing truth in this authentic expression. And for people listening, like they might go, whoa, this is like too spiritual, too woo. The fact of the matter is this supersedes so many things. Because if we're not in a state of strong interoception, nervous system regulation, it really doesn't matter to what extent the food you're eating, it doesn't matter extent even how much you're working out, really. Because if your nervous
Yeah,
system is if your nervous system is dysregulated and I'm eating all the healthy foods, guess what? My body's going to see that healthy broccoli coming in and freaking out. It's going to freak out. It's going to go, oh, I'm on edge. It's not going to be able to accept healthy food from nature as friend, right? Because
yep,
everything in our expression of life is foe. So we
yeah,
got to really bring people back into this, like, hey, you are safe in your body, man. Hey,
mhm,
you are safe in this world if you have trauma in this world. We can extinguish that trauma, relax the nervous system, and all of a sudden, their food allergies are gone. And all of a sudden, their eczema it starts going away. These chronic expressions, they start expanding because the nervous system expands. They start feeling better in their body. And then we can welcome, of course, then we bring them back to eating healthy and being with their feet on the dirt and seeing the sun and being in good relationships and being in good community. Oh my God, that's the healthiest version of health I can possibly imagine for a person. It's really hard for a disease to thrive in a body like that.
Yeah. And to bring this, I guess, to our listeners and those who are watching now and even later, it's like we seem to start the opposite end, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna buy the supplement, or I'm watching
of
this
course.
influencer, I'm following this person, I'm buying their $5,000 package program reset. But the physical, I want to
Mhm.
lose 20 pounds by the summer, or 50 pounds, or whatever that is. All the while, I mean, we hear this all the time, patients that come to us, I've tried everything. I work with naturopaths, functional, this and that. Nothing works, nothing works. And it's like, oh, they didn't realize just how, I guess, emotionally traumatized they were. They didn't realize just how much in, what is it, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, they're
Mhm.
living in every single day. And what is that doing to them? And even where health can become a stressor, right? Where it's like, "Oh, my food has to be the cleanest. I have to
Yes,
source it from, oh my gosh, my farmer wasn't there at the farmer's market. Now I can't get this, and I can't." And they're stressing out almost about being healthy, which is helping them to de-stress originally, but
exactly.
now it's causing more of a burden. So it's almost like they're started on phase 12 when we haven't even hit phase 0, right? Would you agree with all that? And I'm sure you've seen all that.
Mhm. Yeah, and what I appreciate you and your practice is that you're aware of this. You're not just saying eat these foods and you're going to feel better. You're practicing true holistic medicine. The person that is coming to you. If I'm coming to you and I'm dysregulated, yeah, I know that we're going to talk about some stuff in relationship to food. Or if I have a past eating disorder or orthorexia, you're going to take that holistic approach. This is what we're missing in nutrition. This is what we're missing in medicine. And so, like, I have many stories of people bringing their nervous system back into regulation. You spoke about weight loss. One that comes into mind was this client of mine that I had a while ago. We worked. She didn't want to like go there, right? She didn't want to
Yeah.
go about talking about the past. She just initially wanted to lose weight. She was overweight, maybe 60, 70 pounds, and she wanted to know supplements, exercise regimen, calories. To supplement, exercise regimen, calories.
We
Now
hear
I'm
that all
not
the time. Just give me a meal plan. It's
right.
like,
Just give me a meal plan. So I listen. I indulge her as best as possible. I'm not a fitness guy. I don't know what exercises to give her. So I put her with a good fitness trainer,
mhm,
and she did 6 to 8 months of that. Small fluctuations in her weight, even though she was eating so clean. She was working out every day, and the day she wasn't working out, she was walking. She wasn't even super intense in her workout. She was burning quote unquote calories, taking a lot of steps too. And there was one moment when we were on the phone, and I can hear her voice different, and I say, "Can I ask you a question? What have you been feeling? What do you feel right now in this as we're talking?" Because I go, something feels different about you. And we weren't even talking about anything personal. It was in relationship to the things like the weightlifting, the walking. And she says, I don't know, Christian, I just been feeling very weepy lately.
mm,
And weepy, huh? And then for me, that this is the one of the beginning clients that I had. There's a moment I thought to myself, I said, okay, here it is, this woman whose nervous system has been holding in this deep, unexpressed part of her that has been repressed since she was a child. I know the
mm,
trauma that happened since she was a child. We spoke about it on our first intake. And finally, she's come to the point where she's been so frustrated with her lack of weight loss that something is coming up. Her body's expressing this weepy emotion.
mm,
But really, under that was a lot of anger for her mother. And so, how does that express a dysregulated nervous system? I started going in and asking the question, I go, when did you start gaining weight again? Of course, it was right a year after her mother left the family,
mm,
abandoned. One day to the other, no goodbye, just left. Weight gain. And it's been a problem since. So think about it, the nervous system and that massive wave of sympathetic stress,
mm,
right? Like, what happened to my mom? Is she okay? Did she die? Ultimately, over months and weeks and months, why did she leave us? Am I not good enough? Did she not love me enough? All of these stories start being built up in the system. The shame, the guilt, the anger, the sadness, none of it was expressed. It was being held in the nervous system, held in the body. And of course, that protection starts coming up. That's her expression of protection. Just like her brother's expression of that protection was workaholic, and he became a very successful businessman.
Mm.
It's the same thing. Her inability to lose weight and his inability to stop working is the same compensation to the same imprint of pain through the same trauma with siblings under the same roof. So when we think to ourselves, holy shit, it wasn't any more healthier food she needed, it wasn't more exercise she needed. She didn't need to walk anymore. All she needed was to be seen and witness her own level of her anger, fear, shame, guilt, and sadness. That's it.
Mm.
After that, what happened? 80 pounds gone. It was gone.
Wow.
Her
Wow.
brother called me and he said, I don't know what you did to my sister, but this is incredible. And I'm talking about like over like 4 or 5 months. Like it went boom, boom. It was like every time she was like 15 pounds, 10 pounds, 5 pounds. And it was like healthy. It wasn't like Ozempic weight change. I
Right.
was
Right.
in shock. And
Yeah.
that's when I knew this stuff was real. And so it
Wow.
always sticks with me. That was like one of my first exposures to this. And then I dove into it and many other stories from full body eczema to lower back pain, which is major, any chronic pain that's been there for a long time. Oh my God, infertility and the woman
Mm.
getting pregnant, like e- pretty much everything that you can imagine that's chronic in many ways can be addressed on some level with some sort of nervous system regulation.
Wow. And that speaks to, I mean, you gave me that just great piece of positivity of saying we're really holistic providers. You are a holistic provider because, and really that speaks to just our integrative nature, right? It's almost like
Yeah.
we are these detectives that just go, man, what's this layer? Or I think I'm getting to the root, but oh my gosh, as I keep digging, there's more roots down below. And we're just following these roots and really trying to get down to the very foundation level of someone's health story, of someone's health journey, of really what is at the epicenter of what's going on. And this was like the logical next step for you of going like, man, my patient's telling me she's feeling weepy. I'm going to explore this and unlock all of what that has to offer, right? It's extremely powerful. And and really it speaks to this like hierarchy in a sense. And going back earlier a bit to kind of what you're saying, and I know there's so much to go with this, but even just personally understanding that I also got to that point where I did everything nutritionally, plant-based this and everything was perfect and I'm doing all the supplements and this and that, not realizing my own trauma of going like,
Mhm.
"Oh, my mom and dad have a
Mhm.
lot of issues and that's affected me and now that's affecting now I'm here with my wife who's my business partner and my daughter and these things from the past I haven't dealt with, and now they're affecting me, and I can do all the workouts and get my biceps as big as I possibly
Right.
can and whatever, and it's like, but nothing if I don't address this inner whatever you wanna call it, right? Or this somatic work or this
Mhm.
emotional work, I'm going to be kind of stuck in a way, or I'm going to be kind of like this weight is dragging on me, right? I guess that's why we call it baggage or we call it all of this because it does. It feels like this just weight on you, and you're trying to do all this other stuff, but that weight is still on you. So
Yeah.
it's even something we've dealt with. Like Dolly and I do this work, and it's been so important and transformational for us because it just carries with you. And whether it's again something you spoke to where we're all unique, right? It can come out as 80 extra pounds on you. It can come out as a stressful marriage. It can come out as a work being a workaholic,
Yeah.
you like you said, fertility, I mean, the list goes on, and then to bring it back here, IBS, SIBO,
Mhm.
IBD, all
Mhm.
these gut issues because, I mean, really quickly touching on this, it's like you are having these cortisol dumps, these adrenaline dumps. You're living in this trauma every single day. Your hormones are working overdrive. Your neurotransmitters are maybe depleted and working overdrive and your gut's there going like, what the heck's going on? I have to recycle this and work through this. And you're losing species, maybe you're taking antibiotics because you're seeing a doctor who's like, oh, the reason you're feeling this way is you have an infection. Here's a course of antibiotics, and that just makes everything worse. So I guess when someone's feeling this way, I mean, have you found a hierarchy, or would you say, I mean, I guess the question I'm trying to pose is, what questions can someone ask themselves to maybe be like, am I dealing with trauma? Maybe they
Mhm.
don't even know it, just like they're unaware of the constipation they've had for 20 years. Do you find your patients or people you work with are just unaware of even their trauma? And how do they become aware, I guess?
Yeah. The trauma in the paradigm that we have right now in
Mhm.
health and wellness is somehow manifested in the brain, and we will
Mhm.
talk about our trauma until the until the sun sets and the rooster goes up the next morning, and then we'll do it another 250 days, right?
Yeah.
Until we go, I've spent a lot of money on therapy and I don't know how if it worked.
So it's like
Well,
talk therapy you're
talking.
talking about, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
talking.
and it's
Mhm.
supportive. I will say it's supportive. And it's a really potent gate, especially for men, because men don't
Mhm.
necessarily have those communication skills. So to really open up a man to even start talking and opening up, it's important.
Mhm.
This is generally speaking. But
Mhm.
in the context of somatics and the people who are like having to really come to this place of realization, like, hey, maybe my parents, like, it was normal to me, but maybe that wasn't normal the way that I grew up. And maybe I'm holding some stuff in my body. It's about feeling the body, right? So I
Mhm.
tell everyone, take 40 days. And on those 40 days, every day without fail for 15 minutes, start to feel your body. Like close your eyes and
Mhm.
actually like feel that you have toes and a calf
Mhm.
and hamstrings, and actually feel your butt on a seat, or your back if you're laying down. Like actually start familiarizing yourself with your body. And the analogy that always comes to me is that when at your daughter's age, when she was before the age of 7, before her brainwaves changed, she was really in this beautiful theta brainwave meditative state where she was just one in observation with the world. It was it was our most spiritual state we ever were, because
Mhm.
we were of this world. We were in experience of the expression of the world. And our bodies were open. We felt our bodies. We had a connection to our bodies. Right around the age of 7, that changes when our brain waves change and our ego comes online, and all of a sudden we start living from our head. And I know that you notice some things in your daughter where now she's got this personality and she has, like, that's great. Like it's part of being in this world. You need
Yeah.
that. And you need to start moving back to that part where you're in more in that connection to nature and connection to everything. So I tell people, look, 30 to 45 days. Take this time, and the analogy is knocking on the door. When we were
Mhm.
children, we were best friends with our bodies. We would play together, we'd hold hands together, we'd hug. And then we sort of abandon our bodies at the age of 7. And if there's trauma, we absolutely abandon our bodies. And by the time we're teenagers, we have abandoned this connection, unless we have some sort of practice that keeps us there, like maybe sports or yoga or something.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And by the age of 20, by the time we're adults, we're living in our head, especially us men. We're living in that logic,
Oh,
right?
massive.
We've almost fully disconnected with that interoceptive muscle. It's weak. It's like a wet noodle of it's there's no strength to it. Women tend to have a little bit more connection with their body, but I've met a lot of women who are disconnected from their body. And so we if we knock on the door, we can't expect our body to open the door the first day. And if we
Yeah.
knock on the door, we can't expect to open it maybe the 10th day. Maybe our body, which is very much so conscious, I promise you, of every decision you make, maybe it doesn't open the door until the 20th day. But I promise you, your body's going to start talking to you.
Mm.
And it can talk to you in the form of images or sensations. But the practice is this: in these 30 to 45 days, close your eyes, drop into your body, take 15 minutes, feel, just begin to feel your body. And that maybe for the first 15 days, you're actually just visiting and going, oh, wow, this is what it feels like to have a tricep. I forgot. I've never visited my
Hmm.
left tricep or my right finger. Really do a scan of your full body so you start building that awareness. You become accustomed to it. That's you knocking on the door. When you begin to lean into tension in the body, where am I holding tension? After you start really acclimating to the body, you're going to notice, oh, wow, I'm actually kind of tense. Or you might even go, oh, wow, I've been in pain. My lower back's been hurting for years. But you're going to notice where you're holding tension. And the next day, you're going to notice it might be in the same spot. The next day, 10 days later, you're 25 days in, you might go, holy moly, I'm really tense in my upper left belly. So maybe once you find that tension and it's consistent and you see it, you go into the tension. So everyone meditates, they meditate to the heavens. But now I'm telling people do that and meditate into your body. Feel where that tension is. Notice that tension. Really start to meditate into that tension, breathing in, going deeper into that tension. Let that tension be your guide because it is. Your tension in your body is the portal to unlocking that nervous system healing. So if you know where tension is and you befriend it and then you start getting good at dropping into it, there'll be a moment where your body opens that door and it trusts you.
Mm,
And as you go through this tension portal, you're going to feel that moment. And that moment may feel that tension starts to vibrate and your full body begins to be taken over by this tension. And you begin to shake and you begin to feeling like you want to cry. You
mm,
start feeling emotion. Oh, yeah. That's when the door is fully open. That's when your body goes, hey, thanks for visiting me. Where have you been? I haven't seen you since we were 7 and you've
ooh,
abandoned me. So now you connect with your body. You have a flow of emotion. Now you know where tension is. Now you know how to drop into that tension. And now your body trusts you.
mm,
Our bodies don't trust us. That's why we're suffering with so much. When
mhm,
our body trusts us and we're back in alignment or connection with our body, a beautiful thing happens. If you keep visiting your body as part of your practice, your body trusts you, you will know exactly what you need, want, and desire. It's your biggest
wow.
compass. Then your compass comes back in line. And then you know if the relationship you're in is right or the job you're in
Mm,
is right. Now you're starting, your body and soul are leading your human experience versus your logic, which is creating so much misery and disease for us. And that's the practice that I sort of have people do at home to start cracking open this door. Of course, you can really facilitate it and go deeper with a somatic practitioner who's trained, but the truth is that you can do so much of this at home, at least the acclimation phase of it.
For those of you that don't know, Dahlia was our first patient. She struggled with SIBO and IBS and so many GI problems on a day-to-day basis, hunched over, causing so many other issues. We wish we had a protocol in place, a program in place that led her through step by step, inch by inch, and really guide by guide so she had everything at her fingertips. Now we have that. That is our Good Gut SIBO IBS program. You can do it 100% plant-based. You can customize it, but it is one of the only programs that is geared towards plants that can help you customize plants, that can help you tolerate more plants, and really gets to the root of your SIBO, of your IBS, of your ISO, SIFO, IMO, and any other type of overgrowth. And so you're saying she was at 30 days, 15 minutes a day,
Every day. Every
every
day.
day. And that,
Yeah, you could start guided too, right? Like you can do like yoga nidras or somatic meditations, but at some point you're going to want to be able to have that acclimation to your body that you can do it yourself,
mm,
right? So like when you're really good at it, you can be in the middle of intense conversation and then feel your body and go, what do I feel in the middle of the conversation?
mm,
Drop into your body and actually speak truth. Because when we're in a tense conversation, we're coming from our head and we're protected and defensive and coming from past things that we said. The truth is like if we come into our body, we can speak however we want. It's usually in love if it's coming from the body, but in truth.
mm,
This is
mm,
true for me. And then we start being really good at boundaries. We would
mm,
start saying, hey, I love you, but here's my boundary. And then we stop abandoning ourselves and we stop people pleasing. And that changes everything because ultimately anger is really stuffed up in the gut. So there's a lot of people who are people pleasers who have IBS. There's a lot of people who are people pleasers that have chronic gut issues, gut inflammation, heartburn, and so like I hear that, yes, as a doctor, and then I hear that psychosomatically and I go, well, what's the body saying? The body's saying there's especially with heartburn, it's something that's not being swallowed. It's hot. It's
mm,
usually anger. And we know anger in Chinese medicine is in the liver. And so
mm,
if we give people the opportunity to witness that anger, I've seen it. I've done
mm,
it hundreds of times with people with many gut issues. Their gut issues go away finally. It's because they had a massive reservoir of anger and fear in the belly that is
mm,
expressed. And so I say all that to say this, yes, you can do it at home. Befriend your body. I actually think in life, there's three really important health interventions. seeing the sun, putting your feet on the ground, connecting to nature as one, going to sleep and getting good restorative sleep, and having a connection to the body. If you do those three things, and the third one, the latter, getting a connection to the body, actually like befriending your body and having a real connection, it's really hard for me to believe that chronic disease will continue and continue on, because you'll at least work on the nervous system part. Then you, like we said in the beginning, build from that. Get your food right, right? Get your exercise right, right? Then think, do I need supplements? Get that right. But really, I'm talking about the foundation is the nature, the sleep, and the connection to the body. Three fundamental things that all of us, and it's free, that we can do.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And you brought up like our daughter a lot. And really that was a pivotal moment for me to really get my foundation right and this hierarchy right. Because I think I think as a former people pleaser, as a
Yeah.
former passive aggressive person, because I grew up in trauma and I always wanted to keep the peace and just deflect and oh, I'm not gonna feel this. I'm gonna just be passive and yes, okay. I realized, oh, once I had a child and even when I got married, oh, now I'm deflecting onto these people I love. And that's not good. It was almost like because they were outside of me, I cared more for them, which
Mhm.
can be somewhat unhealthy, but in a way it was a trigger for me to look kind of do that work inward and go, "Oh, I need to love myself." Like even almost I would even dare say even more than I love them to then properly and fully love them. Like there was a hierarchy there. I know it can be different for everyone or but over the years we've been doing this for a long time and doing this work on ourselves, I found this hierarchy of like God, myself, and then it was Dahlia and Layla. And through that is how I can show them the most love. Because if I'm dead, if I'm like burnt out and I'm hungry and tired and passive aggressive and irritable, how can I show them the most love? That's not going to work, right? And so it's so true. It's understanding this foundation for yourself and like as someone who lived it, everything you just said resonated, I mean, so highly with me where it was like, yes, it was coming to that realization of like, oh my gosh, if I don't understand these foundation level things and kind of build this hierarchy right, I can't properly be there for my daughter. I can't properly be there for my wife. I can't properly do what I'm meant to do in this life to my fullest ability, right? That's always such a purpose for us is a lot of our patients it's like man what does god want for you in this life and it's being hindered by this trauma or it's being hindered by
Mhm.
your own mind and your own logic and you're stuck in here going like I can't and I'm scared and I'm this and I'm that and I'm not good enough and it's like you're hindering this beautiful flow of energy that's going to just open you up to just such amazing things in this world so you can live this purposeful and passionate life and do amazing things and it's like that's what we want and I know you want that for
Mhm.
everybody you work with and that's what we want that for everybody we work with and it's so beautiful because it can happen right and it can start with 15 minutes a day and I know that that can be a big ask right and what do you do with the people I guess it's like they almost don't believe in themselves, right? Like it's they're not worth the 15 minutes of quiet time a day to search themselves. You know, it's crazy to think about it, right? But when you ask someone, hey, even for like 5 minutes of just peaceful, quiet time for yourself, they're like, I haven't done that in years, right? Like, what are you talking about?
Mhm.
Would you say it's a is my question correct? Like, is it a idea of worth do you find, or is it
Mhm.
them just being disconnected and you are just trying to bring them back to that? What do you find that is where they don't even have 5 minutes for themselves a day?
Yeah, we will not heal unless we are ready to do it, right? It's impossible.
Okay.
It's impossible. If we are actively self-sabotaging, because self-sabotaging in some
Mm.
distorted way gets us more love in our heads than
Ooh.
than we truly do, than we really do deserve, then it's okay. It's okay. Right? Like we
So wait,
have
break that down though. Like, so you're saying A person would rather self-sabotage themselves because it feels better in a way?
More familiar, right? So
Mm,
the the person who got love from their mother every time and attention every time they were sick will
mm,
oftentimes keep manifesting with their partner as an adult. I'm sick. I'm not well. I'm not good. That's not the person that's ready to heal. That's the person that feels comfortable in the relationship dynamic of when I'm sick, I get love. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have hurt children inside of us. There's nothing wrong with that.
mm,
And oftentimes, people, generally speaking, need to hit some sort of rock bottom. They need to hit a divorce, lose their job. They need to have some sort of disease that actually lights a fire within them and says, I need to change something. That's not by mistake, by the way. The body create it didn't create it creates a disease for a very specific reason, right? And it's up to you. What are you going to do with it, right? And I worked in cancer hospitals. I worked in oncology, and look, like you get your treatments, do what you can, and you got to change the way that you live. You got to change your relationship to self. You got to change your relationship to everything around you, including nature. And you mentioned God is like, yes, how can you show up for anyone if your vessel, your body, is stuck all in different places, in the belly, in the chest, in the hips, in the legs, from all of this repressed trauma held in the fascia of your body energetically through the nervous system, hindering the natural flow that animates us as human beings? And if that natural flow that animates us, that you call God, I'll call creator, universe, whatever it is not flowing through us, then we're not expressing purpose and we're not expressing the true embodiment of who we are. And ultimately, that's joy. And like, if someone is in the frequency of joy and that's coming through them through universe creator, if someone's in the frequency of joy, it's very hard to be sick in the frequency of joy. And so the opposite side of that is fear. So if we're living in fear and self-sabotaging the things that we want to do to get healthy, because in that fear state it's most familiar because that's how we grew up, and we got love when we were sick, or we got love when we were resistant, or whatever the story it is. You got to drop in the body and witness that fear,
mm,
because until you witness that fear is going to sponsor all of your thoughts. And this is the
mm,
problem with personal and self-help and growth, is that we oftentimes want to be like, change your thoughts and change your life. You can't change your damn thoughts. They are there. It's really, 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 really hard to, with thousands and 20,000 plus thoughts a day, to go, oh, I have full control of my thoughts. You're not going to control your thoughts. That you
mhm,
can control your actions, and you can control the sponsor to the thought, and that's the feeling. And under that is the emotion, right?
mhm,
So if we have a repressed emotion, for example, fear, and that's sponsoring the expression of how we show up in the world and our thoughts, fear-based expressions, then it's going to be really hard for me to go, James, I'm your therapist now. Today we're going to work on breaking your thought habits. You're going to tell yourself, I am not fear, I am love. You're going to go, I tried this, but we're on 6 months and it's not working. The
yeah,
truth is, James, we got to drop you into your body. I want you to feel the fear that you've been holding on to since you were a child, that has been causing you to sabotage everything, including your health. So
yeah,
when we witness that fear and embody that fear and actually make friends with that fear and allow that fear to be there as part of who we are as human beings, all the darkness and the light, wow, what a beautiful thing. Because now our nervous system goes, oh my God, finally. And guess what? All those resources that it took to hold in that fear in the belly, and it's a massive amount of resources, gets redistributed to your gut, to your hormones, to your immune system, to your brain, to your neurotransmitters. And then that's when we start seeing physical and mental health quantum leaps. And this isn't like just like hyperbole. This is truth.
yeah,
This is very consistent, reproducible. You will see when you drop people into their body, allow them to witness these deep emotions, balance their nervous system, the physical is improving. On
yeah,
top of that, you've cracked open that block, so now the waterway can run. There's no more rock there, and source energy will flow through you. And now, all of a sudden, people who are releasing that fear, what do they feel? Joy. They go,
yeah,
oh, I feel kind of happy. Oh my God, I'm happy. I really miss my dad. I'm gonna call him up after this. I feel so happy. Is this how I'm supposed to feel? Oh my God, I've been missing this. Something so alien. Imagine we don't even know what it feels like to feel joyful because we're living in so much pain and fear. So it's our responsibility if we want to show up for our kids or communities or loved ones, it's our responsibility with this knowledge to at least give it a try. Drop into our bodies, start a practice, start reconciling the relationship with your body, see what comes up. Notice how there's transformation in your health. You become
Mm,
more open. God flows through you, however you want to call it. You show up
mm.
better for your family and your loved ones. Imagine we call that health. That's what health
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I totally, dude, I mean, we got to go there for a second because like anxiety, right? And I've lived this, it's really this fear from this emotion because I remember I couldn't show up. I used to try to do folklorico dances and I was in, my
Mhm.
mom would put me in all these things and I would get so fearful
Yeah.
because of my trauma. And in my household, there was, my older brother was physically abused. I was in a verbally abusive household. It was chaos. It was
Hmm.
fear. So I developed this fear. And I remember trying to go to T-ball and I couldn't play in the game because I would just I would start shaking and I was
Yeah.
just so scared. I
Mm.
literally couldn't show up, right? And it's this anxiety and anxiety was something I had to overcome. I'm still working on it till this day, but I've gotten a lot better where I consider myself a decent public speaker. I do a lot of public speaking and
Yeah, you do.
podcasting and lecture.
Great.
But before, I mean, I remember at a young age, even up until high school, I couldn't. I was so fearful, right? Because I was living in that emotion, in that trauma, in that fear. And you think of now of how many, I mean, you ask almost anybody, anybody's dealing with anxiety. Is that the same thing? Is that what you're seeing and your expertise? Is that one, like, what do I want to call it? Like a different side of the same coin, or is it
Somewhat.
something different?
Yeah, somewhat. Anxiety, look, anxiety, a healthy version and expression of anxiety
Mhm,
is just a healthy expression of that fear, right? Like, oh,
mhm,
whoa, what was that loud sound? Ooh, are we okay? Is there
mm,
something happening around here? Is the house okay? Is my family okay? Like that level of fear and anxiety, good. And then it's extinguished, right? It's part of our survival mechanisms. And chronic anxiety is far from natural. Now, anxiety, the feeling, anxiety is not emotion, but anxiety, the feeling, is a downstream expression of a repressed emotion. And
okay,
an emotion that is not allowed to be fully expressed for one reason or the other. It can be cultural, parental, religious. It could be your own relationship to identity, something that you believed to be true at one point and then not true anymore, but you still believe to be
mm,
true. Your own identifications. All of these things are inputs to how you show up in the moment. So if you've been given the signal, no, James, you're a strong little boy. You're not scared. Big boys aren't scared. You're not supposed to be scared. If you're getting this signal, and you actually have authentic fear that wants to be expressed, but it's held in because it's not safe to express because the signal, for example, that your parents gave you was that you can't show that fear, then of
mm,
course it's going to be disproportionately expressed in moments where it's legitimate to express fear, like being at bat for the first time, public speaking as an adult or young adult. Like all of these things are just expressions of something that is being repressed. The anxiety can look at like many things. It doesn't have to just look like shaking. It can look like people pleasing. It's the
mm,
same thing. Oh, I'm anxious, but I know that when I'm anxious, I'm going to do something I'm really good at, and that's be nice and make everyone in the room okay. It can look like being funny at the wrong times. Oh, I know that I have the gift of being funny and I can make everyone laugh, and I'm anxious, so I'm going to make everyone laugh. Right?
the person that laughs at the awkward moment or the
All the
bad news and they just
Mhm.
like laugh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All of
Mhm,
that, right? So these are expressions of anxiety, but ultimately, anxiety isn't the problem. It's the
mhm,
protection. It's the thing that we survived by expressing and compensating with. Even if it's a freeze,
mm,
right? Even if it's your at bat and you just like shaking, then you freeze. That's just your body compensating. But imagine if you were at bat as a kid, and let's say theoretically your dad came and said, "Son, I love you. You can be as scared as you
mm,
want here, right? I love you. You can be as scared as you want at bat. You will always be my boy, my son, and I
Mm,
cherish you. Wow, those words, your whole body would start shaking, and you'd hug him, but you'd start shaking and shaking, and he'd be there for you. Like, imagine, even as an adult, that little boy is present in so many men, and
mm,
they're shaking on the inside, but how are they showing up? Overcompensation. Look at my confidence. It's overinflated. I'm so good at this, right? It's still a little boy
yeah,
shaking inside of that man, or the people pleaser man, or the comedian who has so much trauma. It's the same thing. Anxiety
yeah,
can even show up as overeating, overexercising, overworking, drug use. It's the same thing. What drives people to addiction is when the anxiety comes up, they need to numb it. So it goes
right,
down. And there's no
right.
difference between two brothers and one's an addict and one's a billionaire. There's no difference. They both have anxiety. One used it in a way that works for them, one used it in a way doesn't work for them. But they still got the same signal. One feels worthless and one's proving that they're not worthless. But it's
Mm,
still the same trauma.
man. And to something you said earlier, the amount of energy all that
Mm,
takes is energy, let's say for women from their fertility, from men, it's energy from their spiritual health or heart health where they can feel their emotions so they're not, they have the better marriage or they can be that father for their kids to be like, "Oh, I see my son or daughter struggling, let me be there for them."
yeah,
I mean, it's energy. It's literally sucked away from you to where you insert chronic disease, insert, emotional, even more emotional trauma, social disorders, insert all those things into that because that energy is now gone,
that's right.
right?
Exactly. 100%. And look, like, I've seen a woman 2 years who couldn't have a baby. They were about to do IVF. This was the last resort. I have this proof in emails that she's very open publicly about. Like, she came and she had so much nervous system repression of anger and sadness in her womb. And
Mm,
when that was released, it was so potent. Like, she was dripping it. She looked like she came out of a sauna. Now imagine how much energy that was held in for. The trauma happened in college, and she was out of college for like 15 years. 15
mm,
years, let's say. Probably was earlier, the signals, but in college was the thing that happened. So 15 years of holding in an explosion of heat energy that would drench you like you came out of a sauna.
mm.
That's what she was holding in her womb. And and
Wow.
and she couldn't figure out why she was infertile. Of course, all of that, those resources are being used to hold that in the fascia of the upper right part of her womb. And
Mm,
so when she released that, guess what? She got pregnant a month later. She got pregnant a month later because all the
wow.
resources in her body were saying, "You are safe. The world is safe. We can bring in a child to this world." Period.
Wow.
Like, and this is not to do anything. This is 20 years before medicine is going to be saying this. And
Yeah.
but there has to be a point where medicine begins to start moving to this, because we're so divorced from this. And look, there's money to be made with many pharmaceutical interventions. We know that. And more and more, 120,000 Google searches a month on somatics.
Yeah.
What is somatics? Somatic practitioners. How can I be a somatic practitioner? It's a massive market that's growing because people are looking for a better way, even beyond talk therapy.
Mm,
And there is a way that's here. There's a way, and it's called nervous system regulation. You come back to your nervous system, you come back to your health, and you start embodying all of you, and you're not afraid to be you. How
mm.
good does it feel for people when they're not afraid to be them? That's why they drink. They
Yeah.
actually like take down their walls and they're just like uninhibited. People just drink not because, like, oh, it's a thing to do socially. They subconsciously do it because it brings out the more authentic version of them. Now imagine not being belligerent or drunk, but feeling good in your body. And
Yeah.
that's not to say I'm over here like I'm not sitting on a table and I'm floating like a guru, because I'm far from it. I have many days, a lot, and I
Yeah.
still struggle with things. And I know I've made massive, massive quantum leaps. And this is what I want for people.
Same, 100%, where yeah, this comes from a place of yes, experience, but not we are at the pinnacle of hierarchy and listen to us and yeah, we're these floating heads of wisdom. It's like no, it's wisdom comes from these trials and tribulations, which bring perseverance, which bring
Yeah.
hope, and bring that wisdom to discern and use the knowledge and use that experience. A question that's coming in, someone's asking, can you please define trauma beyond the obvious, PTSD, abuse, etc.? Perhaps some examples of trauma where there is no obvious abuse. So that's a good question of this, because I think, and there's studies, I mean, going back, we're like piecemealing the research. And I think, yeah, you're right, like 10 or maybe like 15, 20 years, most of the medical community will be like, "Oh yeah, this energy does make a difference in fertility and IBS and all
Yeah.
this." We'll hear that finally. Just like 15 years ago, the microbiome
Yeah.
wasn't real, and all these microbes don't really do much, and they're just in our gut and on us, whatever, no big
Exactly.
deal. And it's like, yeah, but can you speak to where I know there's studies on what's called early adverse life events? So whether
Mhm.
that's, I know on YouTube they're weird with how we say this, but like SA, right? The sexual abuse,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
whether that's verbal, physical, sexual abuse. But is there other ways to define this? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, the that study that was done, the ACE study, really defined
Mm,
like real traumas, right? Like one of your parents was incarcerated, there was sexual abuse or SA, physical abuse. And those are the obvious things that we think about, or witnessing domestic abuse. But there's also trauma if you're chronically neglected. If you have a
mm,
narcissistic parent whose needs were before yours, if you have a parent who wants to be parentified by you, right? When we have responsibilities as kids that aren't supposed to be responsibilities that kids are supposed to have.
mm,
Arguing, not even like physical abuse, but just consistent, just like my parents never got along. They just bickered
mm,
nonstop. That those are all smaller traumas. Those are all traumas that we carry to ourselves. It could be something as simple as you've been ridiculed the first time you went on stage and everyone was laughing at you, and it was the look that your teacher gave that was not supportive, and then all of a sudden the story was cemented in, I shouldn't be in front of people doing anything,
mm,
right? And it's part of your life path. And trauma is so quickly overused by so many people, but let's just think about it this way. What are the things that dysregulate your nervous system as I'm not safe in this moment? That's it. And
mm,
if we think about it that way, absolutely physical abuse is going to be one of the pinnacles of it,
mm,
but also something that, like, hey, like, my mom's not paying attention to me, she's in her own world, my dad's never here, he's working, I feel very alone, I don't feel safe, because biologically as a kid I'm supposed to feel safe, I'm
mm,
supposed to feel good in my body, I'm supposed to feel connection, I'm supposed to have a secure attachment. And so all these pieces add into the whole expression of, wow, my nervous system is dysregulated. And we should think about that more expansively. Nervous system dysregulation versus trauma, because sometimes it's hard to define the smaller traumas that actually play a big role, particularly if it's consistent nervous system dysregulation. You go to school every day, you're being on some level bullied. That's absolutely a trauma. But more importantly, it's just a consistent dysregulation of your nervous system that is leading to consistent dysregulation of your hormones, of your immune system, of your organs, of your brain, neurotransmitters, all your whole physiology. Let's think
mm.
about it that way.
That is that, and that this segues nice into this other question where Courtney's saying, I'm a big believer in somatic work, but when fight or flight, or let's see, but when fight or flight, it's very hard to move through. Trauma seems to be a buzzword these days. How do we narrow it down and really lean in when it's been years of this work? So if I'm understanding that right, like they're believer in this, they've been doing this work, but they like you're saying this, it's that better term is this nervous system dysregulation, and even little, I call it, in my work I've done, I call it like I'm creating a new garden or farm, right? And there were these weeds and I've plowed the field, and a lot of that hard work, right? Maybe that was the physical abuse and a lot of the big trauma that a lot of people have, but now there's these little seeds and they're growing into weeds, and that's maybe like the smaller trauma, I guess we could say, or you could say the dysregulation that we work
Exactly.
through. So is it just, I guess the question here is how are we narrowing it down, right? Like, or how would you, I guess, help someone continue to do the work?
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best to answer this question
Yeah.
because I have like 75% like grasp on it. So
Okay.
the way that I would say it is like this, because you mentioned sympathetic,
Mm,
is like if you're continuously having sympathetic, disproportionate responses to things in your life and you're doing somatic work, then the somatic work isn't getting you deep enough to what's really there, right?
mm,
If you're having a sympathetic response and you want to fight or flight or you're even freezing, the most important thing in that moment is not to talk and communicate through it. The most important thing in that moment is to go, okay, what do you feel in your body? Where do you feel it?
mm,
Can you allow for that to be there? Okay. And if the answer is yes to all of them, then feel it. Allow
mm,
for your then truly feel it. Like let it be in your body. Let it actually
mm,
be felt in your chest. Let it actually be felt in your throat. Let it take over your full body. Like, and that's tough. That's the work. The work is actually leaning into really, really uncomfortable moments. Like, and I hope that me answering this can help this person who put this, Courtney, was it, her name was
mhm.
Courtney?
Courtney, huh?
Um, like I remember I had a lot of resistance towards deep intimacy, right? Especially in relationship,
Mm,
deep intimacy, and it's still something that comes up and I work through. But I would freeze sometimes before sex. I would freeze. My whole body would freeze,
mm,
and I couldn't believe it because I was like, "Oh, but I'm open, and I'm so like." No, the truth is there was something in my body and it was hard to recognize when and where, or if it was something that happens in intimacy or connection during sex, that I freeze and I completely will dissociate and I'll move
mm,
away from my sensations, move away from pleasure, and I'll leave my body. And it took me years to even realize that that was happening, but ultimately, in that freeze state, right, that response, that sympathetic, like, oh, when I'm freezing, I remember it was that one moment I go, what do I feel in my body? And
mm,
where do I feel it? And it was in my lower back. And I felt anger and I felt sadness and I felt shame. And it wasn't me thinking about it. My body showed me. And I felt
mm.
so much pressure in my lower back that my legs, I had to keep moving my legs because if I didn't, it would make me nauseous because it was so intense. So
Wow.
I ended up having an emotional release
Mm,
it with a loving partner who was actually able to hold it and not judge me. You have to feel safe. You have to feel
mm,
held. You have to feel like I have someone who is not going to judge me, right? Who I can co-regulate with. Thank God I had a loving
mm,
partner who can co-regulate and have a loving partner who can co-regulate with. And so I was able to go through that deep seated who it doesn't the body doesn't even care what happened. I don't know what happened, when it happened. All I know is that the body was like, "You're finally safe to release. Are we good with this? Because I've been holding this since 1990s,
mhm.
right? My intuition says 1999 for some reason, and starts moving it.
Wow.
Lo and behold, so much more expansion and intimacy, so much more safety, so much more confidence, so much more connection. This is not only my experience, though. I'm not speaking just anecdotally. I'm speaking to the experience of so many people that I've worked with or people that I've known work with, is that this stuff works, but if it's not working for you, then it's not going deep enough. Ultimately, it's getting in the body, feeling where it is. What do you feel? And can you allow for it to be there? If the answer is yes, then fully feel it and then see what happens.
Being integrative gut health registered dietitians for over a decade, we really wanted something. We wanted to formulate something that we didn't have when Dahlia was going through IBS and SIBO symptoms, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, hunched over after every meal. That's why we formulated Gut Nurture. It was a mix of ingredients that we wish we had that we had to pull from all kinds of different supplements in order to make a supplement that actually worked, that helped with motility, that helped lay the foundation to build a healthy gut microbiome. It's safe for kids, it's safe for women, Men, it's safe if you have IBS, if you're low FODMAP, low histamine, low sulfur, the list goes on and on. We really made it a ubiquitous, amazing supplement to help your gut thrive, and it is something we wish we had over a decade ago that you have now. Try Gut Nurture, let us know what you think, and be one of the thousands and thousands using Gut Nurture to stay healthy daily. Yeah. I love that. No, I think that's a great answer because even for ourselves, like it's a constant progression. And to share also a story of personal experience, I would freeze when I would start to feel emotion or see other people's emotions. So Dahlia and Layla would cry. Dahlia's mom fairly recently passed away, and even as recent as a couple of years ago, when it would come up again and my daughter would be crying or she would be crying, I would freeze because I
Yep.
just wasn't able to process that emotion. Or I'm coming off a long work day and I couldn't switch over to my nurturing emotional side quick enough, and I would just freeze, get sleepy. My thing was get sleepy, and like I could
Shut down.
easily shut
Shut down.
down,
Hmm.
take a nap, go to bed. I'm too overwhelmed and I would just shut down. So that's like me not being there for my wife and daughter. That's me not being there to help them express, as well as me also releasing and expressing that emotion that I obviously have. It's much easier to shut down, right? That was my what I've been doing for decades as a child and a young adult for a very long time, is just shut down. It's much easier. And the family I came from is there's a massive problem, we'll shut down, we'll
Yep.
forget about it, we'll reconvene as if nothing happened, and we'll continue to move on until the cycle happens again. And we'll just
Mhm.
live through this trauma and suffer physically, emotionally, financially. The list goes on and on and on, right? And so I know this. And now what's really cool is as you continue to build on this, you can pretty much see it in others as well,
Yep.
right? You've seen it in yourself so often. You're like a freaking metal detector of like beep beep beep. Yep,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can tell
Hmm.
this is what you're doing, and it's this bright light that you're seeing going like whoa.
Yes,
You can
exactly.
see it before others see it, and it's really, yeah, it's really interesting. Very very powerful. Um,
Can I say one thing?
yeah,
You are breaking that intergenerational trauma, right? The
right.
the way of dealing with dysregulation in your family household, you've decided that this isn't part of how I want to show up in my life. And now your daughter and your wife are experiencing a new version of you. Now they are experiencing a new version in relation to the masculine. So your daughter is now was there was two routes. It was I'm going to be like my dad or family or whoever it was that was dysregulated and shutting down,
Mhm,
and then her experience of that with you would lead ultimately to her experience of the expectation of the masculine. So
mhm,
when she gets older, she attracts a partner, and that's going to be very normal because that's how dad was. And now it's different. She's now going to attract a partner one day when that happens, who I'm sure it'll be a wonderful person because you'll approve of him. And the beauty is that that man will be an expression or a version of you in many ways, a projection of you. And you showing up, being able to hold her in the expression of her sadness or her anger or her fear. Wow, now this man that's
mm,
coming into her life in the future, she's going to only want that. She's not going to want
mm.
anything less. Wow, so then she's going to be attracting such a balanced, healthy man. And now they're going to build a family unit one day. And what do you think their kids are going to look like? You see, like you, just your decision to break that has created an impact that's going to last way beyond you're here on Earth,
Oh yeah,
right? You're and that's one decision. And to me, amongst all this talk, that's true masculinity. That's a
yeah,
true man. A true man is
yeah.
being able to make that decision and break that and show up better for the family and create a completely change, a quantum change in the reality of what this generation looks like.
I totally, and that's true leadership, right? I think we have this twisted idea of being a leader, and that is true leadership. It's humbling yourself to a point where you're actually looking in yourself to find these problems and deal with them
Yep.
in the most efficient and healthy way, so you can have this long-lasting ripple effect that you can't even comprehend, really.
Exactly.
Um, it's just vital, and I wanna parallel this really quickly to health, right? It's in the same way. It's like this inheritance that I'm now leaving for my daughter to, Lord willing, she does find this beautiful man. We pray about that. We want
Yeah.
that all the time. And to see this new healthy family and it keeps going and going and going. And in the same way, it's very similar to physical health, right? Where this will not only seed emotional and mental and maybe spiritual health, but also the physical goes right along with it. So I want to point that out. That's so important where
Yeah.
it's this idea that yes, we're being passed on these habits, and they can be eating habits and exercise habits. Don't get us wrong, that's all still very important, but they do go hand in hand with the emotional, spiritual, mental habits as well. Because again, if you the male figure in your life has been, I came from that suck it up household, that whatever, suck it up, you don't care about me really at the end of the day, is what I'm hearing, is these people who are supposed to care about me don't. If that continues, why would I care about my health? Why would
Yeah.
I care not to or to stay away from drugs or over consume alcohol? And then I'm seeding a household of not just chronic abuse mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but chronic illness physically, right? And that goes hand in hand.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know if you wanna
Absolutely.
add to that, but I mean,
Yeah.
I just
It
had to.
does. It does go hand in hand. And the fact is even on the physical level, when the family, when a, a child, a partner feels safe
Mhm,
to express, they're not holding in and causing those cortisol spikes, especially early on. Like when we're given the signal that it's not safe to get angry anymore, or be in fear, or especially as a young boy, you can't be scared. You're a big boy now. Or
mhm,
sad, even worse. You can't cry. You're a big boy now. Like when we're given these signals, it's really changing the face of our physical health,
mhm,
because inevitably we as humans, especially as children, are going to experience many of those emotions throughout the day. And each time that one emotion that isn't allowed, or two or three, it's causing dysregulation in our system, which is affecting our cortisol. If it happens early on and over time, it creates brain changes in the limbic system, right? In our hippocampus, our memories change, our learning abilities is change.
mhm,
Our ability to relate to the world changes. We're more reactive when we become adults. We're more hyper vigilant around people. Like I know people who are listening resonating with this. Like, oh my God, yeah. Every time I go somewhere, I'm always looking around. It's because there's brain changes that have happened early on when we were kids. And
mhm.
so, yes, like that decision to hold better space as a parent creates massive shifts, yes, generationally and within the immediate household, immediately in the physiology of the child.
Yeah. And I wanna point out just in 2024, last year, I always wanna say this year, it's 2025 is flying by already, but, in 2024, just last year, I know the Journal of Nature came out with a study showing a causal relationship of the gut microbiome to PTSD versus
Yes.
as just an associative or like as a byproduct. So there's also these like transgenerational effects from all this. Let's postulate like cortisol and
Hmm.
these spikes and dumps, if you will, of these stress hormones and stress neurotransmitters, then leading to bigger and stronger effects of PTSD later in
Yep.
life. So it's
Yep.
crazy. And in the same way you're eating things that maybe fester and bolster up these negative microbes in your gut, you can also think things that bolster and
Hmm.
strengthen negative microbes in your gut. So just by the feelings and who you're around and the way you're thinking, you are then going, yes, I want more candida and I want more more of
Hmm.
these negative and let's say inflammatory microbes. I
Hmm.
want them to live more in my body. And they go, okay, great. So do we. And now you continue down that road of whatever it is, bacterial overgrowth, or like you're saying, eczema, infertility. And you
Yeah.
see that massive connection. Unfortunately, it won't be mainstream probably for another 15 years, but I mean, this is where at some point as a healthcare practitioner, you have to innovate a little bit. You have to postulate and form a thesis and a theory and put these kind of puzzle pieces together and go, wow, this is massively important. We're
Mhm.
seeing this data, we're seeing this information. Most importantly, we're seeing our patients and you're seeing your patients, and we can't just ignore this and just here's a prescription, here's a supplement, good luck. It's like, no, we have to do more than that, right? And I want to say, I mean, Justin, you were saying earlier for women to hear this, and I do feel women understand this a little bit better, but you hear the importance of this, but women to really just, I mean, if I can say, Dahlia helped me tremendously. Dahlia never gave up on me. Dahlia
Mhm.
never really wavered on like, man, I know I don't know what it was. I wish Dahlia was here to speak on this. We'll have to do another one where Dahlia can speak on this, but really just that support and just a message to all the women out there. Us men need your support. And
Yeah.
it may be, I know you said this earlier on, it may be the second time or the 22nd time that you try to tap in or take that quiet time, or you do so in a loving way to someone else and support them, it finally does click. And I was that guy where it took time for me to realize, oh, it's not just about nutrition. Oh, I grew up in trauma. Because one thing I did was always try to downplay it. Well, at least my dad
Mhm.
wasn't an
Mhm.
alcoholic. At
Mhm.
least he wasn't on drugs.
Yeah.
At least, it's downplay, downplay, downplay. And it wasn't until one of the earliest therapists I work with, he was like, "You realize you're doing that, and that's not." And he explained why that's not good. And I was like, "Oh, interesting. We're
Mhm.
just downplaying our trauma." And it's like,
Mhm.
for who? That's almost like a self-soothing mechanisms to be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, it wasn't that? There's bigger trauma, so I'm okay, and I'm
Of
going to
course.
continue as is." Right. So but just that message of like for anyone listening, continue to help and support first and foremost yourself, but your partner, your spouse, whoever that is. And if you're seeing a glimmer of hope there, let's stoke that fire. Let's try it. There's so many things out there. And if you, I mean, let me know, Christian. I mean, where someone, I mean, you said here where they can start, what they can do, how do they connect with you?
Mm.
Like what are some next steps to maybe continue to fan these flames of like this beautiful fire within them and going, wow, here's new knowledge, here's new information. I resonate with this. What are some next steps from here?
Yeah, if for people who are into the somatics, they can do like virtual classes at elm
Mm,
and there we have a anger release class, a sadness or grief release class, and we have a full body one, and that's with whatever comes up. Um,
mm,
and oftentimes you could take, I would say on average 2 to 3 as you start really feeling things move. Um, if you're really open and you have a great relationship with your body, you might even only need one class and things will really start moving for people. Um, the Heal Thyself podcast, which you've been on twice, I believe,
mhm.
twice, definitely more than once,
Yeah.
maybe even 3 times. The Heal
Mm,
Thyself podcast is something that I cover a wide variety of things, as you know. Like we'll talk about gut health and we'll talk about like the quality of gum, and then I'll talk about like nervous system and anger. So there's a lot of information there. We have the Integrative Psychology Institute. This is where we are now created a 6 month psychosomatic practitioner program, and you basically can graduate and do this work. You learn this work, you learn this method, and you heal your own stuff within the process because you have to be
mm,
able to hold space. And then that program in itself also offers another 2 year program as a master's. So we basically wanted to create a new type of therapist. And
mm,
it's the therapist who thinks first to the body and sees the mind stories as an expression of what's in the body. And so we're creating somatic therapists through our master's program, and psychosomatic therapists through our 6 month program. So integrativepsychology.org, it's awesome. And really, like my website, Dr. Christian Gonzalez, Dr. Christian Gonzalez. I do a lot of events, a lot in LA, just did one in Miami, big releases in Miami, transformational and stuck with me, and I want this for people to understand. So when like I felt emotionally constipated, and I felt like for the first time in years, all of it came out. Right?
Wow.
Emotional constipation is what people are suffering with, and they need an energetic enema, and it was in the form of nervous system healing. So
Yeah.
um it's awesome stuff. I'm pretty busy, but like I'm super honored that like I'm able to talk to old friends who I've respected for so long. You and your wife, really, the work that you do is amazing, and integrative is the word. I know that you care more than just what people are eating, and that's a true holistic practitioner. So you've creating something amazing and still like doing some awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man. I know how busy you are, so yeah, it's always great to catch up, even on a podcast and beyond that. I know you come to our dinner,
I'm
and we're
coming this
excited to
year.
see you
I'm
coming
coming
this
this
year to
year.
dinner.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, we love you, man. We appreciate you and respect you, and you're doing so much great work, and just all that summary of your work is amazing and beautiful and special, and it is seeding. I mean, a generation, it's going to seed something far beyond our comprehension for generations to come, because we're healing root cause of people's emotions, of people's minds, of their nervous systems, which is wow. It's a ripple effect far beyond what we can comprehend. So thank
Appreciate
you
that.
so much. I appreciate this. And for those listening later, comment down below, put your questions down below. We appreciate you all for listening. And if you enjoyed Dr. Christian Gonzalez, remember to go to the Heal Thyself podcast. Make sure you follow that, listen to episodes. It's like a wealth of knowledge. You can listen to it for the next 50 years
That's
of just
right.
all the
That's
episodes and
right.
all the knowledge. I mean, it's insane. And we appreciate you, man, so much. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, James.
All right, everybody. Until next time, you can catch us on Good Gut live every Friday. And the benefit of watching live is you can ask questions. We'll see your comments and questions down below. Until next time, feel with each meal and heal with each meal. Bye, everybody.